What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, women's college basketball regular season is almost over, and we have continued to see some fireworks as the weeks have gone on, specifically this past week, and specifically on Thursday, where we saw a couple of upsets. I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting, but it was pretty cool. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about Alabama versus LSU, because Alabama women's basketball pulled off one of the biggest wins of the decade, taking down number 7 LSU in an overtime thriller game. Ultimately, the final score was 88 Alabama, 85 for LSU. And guys, this was not just a fluke upset. Yes, LSU got, but it was because Alabama is an actually good team. I know a lot of people don't pay as much attention to Alabama, but Bama is good. And they have been good for a while. And this was a battle that Alabama led more than 40 minutes in this game. They were in the lead, and they were able to prove that they can indeed go toe-to-toe with some of the biggest teams in the SEC and in the country as a whole. Guys, and yet, despite the fact that Bama's a good team, despite the fact that they were playing the number 7 team in the country, this game was at home, and LSU, they bring a crowd, right? Sometimes when they go to other arenas. And this game in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, had only 3,338 people in attendance. That's how many people showed up to Coleman Coliseum to witness this game. And guys, this ultimately is a number that is baffling, disappointing, and frankly, downright embarrassing. But let's not talk about the crowd real quick. Let's get on to the actual game itself. And from opening tip-off, Bama was in control of this game, right? You had player after player after player showing up and showing out for Bama. You had Aaliyah Nye, you had Ashlee Barker, who combined for 49 points in this one, with Aaliyah Nye having a fan-freaking-tastic game, 28 points for her, and she was just knocking shots down. And for the Crimson side, overall, this was a great showing of both offense and defense at times for this team. They were able to go off on a 13-point lead early in the second quarter, fueled by, good defense and good shooting. And when LSU was ultimately able to claw back in this game, like elite teams do, Bama found a way to respond. It was Zay Green who stepped up in overtime. Essence Cody who stepped up as well, hitting a game-saving block in this game. And the Crimson Tide was able to seal their first win over a top 10 opponent in 13 years. And guys, for context, Bama has legitimately been a good program in recent years. I would say the last 3 seasons, Christy Curry has been doing her thing with this team, and they've been making some noise. They've been winning games, both in the SEC and also in non-conference play. They've been able to put good talent on the floor, and this is not a team that's just scraping by. Of course, when you're in the SEC, it's hard to go past the juggernauts of South Carolina and LSU, but Alabama has been at the top half of the SEC, making stuff happen, getting good wins, and ultimately, they're a team that earns national rankings, right? This year we've seen them in the national ranking conversation, top 25 for a lot of the weeks, right? And it's largely because of their ability just to find ways to score. And yet, even though this is a good squad, even though they're ranked number 20 in the country, even though they have a really good home record, still, when it comes to one of the best games of the year, going against a talent like a LSU, towards the end of the season, when the biggest lights are shining bright on Alabama, a little bit over 3,000 people actually show up to the game. Not a good look. Not a good look. And LSU, for their part, they nearly was able to pull off the double-digit comeback, something they've done several times this season. But while they had a pretty good, I would say, second half, the first half was not very good at all. They were not able to score as much. They also was just allowing Bama to kind of do whatever they wanted. And when they tried to answer in the second half, well, the Crimson Tide had an answer at just about every turn. And the Tigers, had a chance to win it in regulation. They had a chance to win it in overtime, but ultimately just couldn't do it. Ultimately, just couldn't do it. In overtime, we ended up seeing Flau'jae Johnson foul out.
To Barker. Barker against Johnson. Block foul called on Johnson, and that is her 5th foul. So Barker called for a foul after the review as well. So with that would be her 5th foul. Christy Curry can't believe it, putting her hands on her face. Christy Curry having to be held back by her assistant coaches as well as the player that was fouled out with that intentional foul, Sarah Ashlee Barker.
Shot clock at 10, it's Williams, guarded by Weathers. Cody comes out, Williams to the basket. Good defense by Alabama, they got the stop, they've got possession, and Morrow gives the foul with 4.1 to go. Green's played big here tonight. Makes the second. It's a 3-point game. Timeout LSU. They will advance it to the front court. Here we go. 3-point game in overtime. Morrow's got it. LSU's got to get a shot. Williams launches off the iron. And the Alabama 55 have knocked off LSU.
LSU got. But, we'll ultimately see what happens with them as they head into SEC play. But it's clear that there is no real clear-cut winner. Teams that you expect to win, they just don't, right? They just don't. We saw NC State with Notre Dame, right? Last weekend. We saw Florida State versus Notre Dame on Thursday. We saw Kentucky over Tennessee on Thursday. Like there's so many teams that you would expect, they're playing this game, they're gonna win. No, not the case at all. And Alabama shows up and it makes some noise against LSU. Now, let's go back to the fans real quick, because to me, that's really the story in this one. Yes, the game was fantastic. Yes, Bama showed up and showed out, did what they needed to do, got the win, but here's the deal. What stands out is not the action on the court. It is the lack of action in the stands. Now, the fans that were there, they were cheering. They were trying their best to get this crowd, to get this team hype and all this other stuff. But here's the deal. If y'all don't know, Alabama and LSU are fierce rivals when it comes to football, right? Anytime these two teams clash against each other, it's a spectacle. It's something that everybody wants to see. And so, why is it that when their women's basketball teams meet in a ranked showdown in Tuscaloosa, the response is not even lukewarm. It's pretty cold. Here's the thing, guys. It's not about winning, because Alabama has been winning for the last several seasons, right? It's not about playing competitive basketball at home, because they have a really good home record, and they have for the last several years. It's not about them being able to consistently, make a name for themselves in the SEC, because they have been doing that. So what is it? Is it a lack of marketing? Is it a lack of fan base that only really cares about football when it comes to Bama? Is it a broader cultural issue where women's basketball just doesn't get, I'm not even saying the same attention, but a decent amount of attention in Alabama, guys? I don't know. Whatever the reason is, guys, it's sad. It really is. Because here's the thing. Alabama women's basketball deserves more fans in the stands. Christy Curry has built a program that is capable of making some noise when it comes to the NCAA tournament. They're capable of making noise in the SEC conference tournament, right? This is a team that just took down a team that just won a national championship a couple years ago, right? And they did it in a dramatic overtime fashion. And, if that's not worth showing up for, I don't know what is. I really don't know. Here's the deal. Alabama will continue to kind of push forward and with their eyes on the NCAA tournament, right? They've proven that they can beat the best when it comes to this win, or one of the best when it comes to the win over LSU. But for the program to truly thrive, they really do need not just success on the court. They really need to figure out what they can possibly do to get butts in the seats. So Alabama fans, it is time for y'all to step up. These players are doing their thing. They're giving it all that they have night in and night out. And the least that you can do is show up and give them the atmosphere they deserve. Now, here's the deal. The reason why I'm making this video is, yes, one, because I was watching the game and I was like, man, ain't nobody in the stands. Man, this is terrible. But also because earlier in the day on Thursday, I actually talked to somebody who was from Alabama, and they were in Chicago visiting. And, of course, as I do, I talk about sports. And the person was like, hey, I love Alabama sports. I'm a big Alabama fan and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, you are? What about Alabama women's basketball? Are you rocking with them? I think she said she went to one game, I think. But I was like, hey, you should look out for Christy Curry. I think she's a really good coach. Also, Sarah Ashlee Barker is fire. Like, check them out. Because she watches and supports like the other stuff at Bama. But went to one game for women's basketball, but is not really a supporter and doesn't even know that Alabama is a really good team right now for somebody who like is a Bama super fan. And it made me think like, man, like that is pretty terrible. And then I watched the game later that day and I'm like, man, ain't nobody there in the stands. Do people in Alabama even know that this team is as good as it is? Like, here's the deal. Like, this is not just a one-off. Like, we've seen abysmal numbers for Alabama basically this entire season. And I don't know what it is. But I hope that eventually, Alabama's able to, convince, the Bama faithful to be like, hey, show up to these games, show up, because our women are making it happen. And anyway, that's what made me make the video. I could have just made a general recap of the game, but I really wanted to talk about this because fandom is huge for certain programs, right? Huge. UConn, South Carolina, Notre Dame, like there are some teams that bring out the people, right? And there are some other teams that are good, that are winning, that are making some noise, but yet not much noise being made in the crowd. So it's a question of marketing. It's a question of just garnering more attention. To just get people in the seats, because Bama women's basketball is good. Like, they are. And I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. They will, continue to be at that top portion of the SEC. They will continue to have a really good home record, right? And it's just about the fans showing up and showing out. But what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear y'all thoughts. Do y'all think that, what do y'all think is the issue for Alabama women's basketball as to why they just don't have fans in the crowd? And do you think that's something that can be solved by winning, or winning more, I guess, because they're winning now, but like, I guess you need to win more. Anyway, what do y'all think? I just want to make this video because I was just like, I could just do a recap, but I wanted to talk about this instead. So, let me know. Would y'all just prefer me just to stick to recaps, or would y'all prefer me to like quickly recap, but then also talk about something that I noticed that should be a broader conversation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see y'all in the next one. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.